KREM 2 News 10 at 10 begins now.
Is Lori Noreen Vaile not guilty or guilty of first-degree murder of Tylee Ryan? Answer, guilty.
Guilty. That was the jury's answer, not once, but all 6 times when the verdict was read in the Lori Vaile trial. Good evening and thank you for joining us tonight for KREM 2 News 10 at 10, where we give you more news in less time. I'm Cody Proctor. Roughly 4 years after the murders of Lori Vaile's 2 children and her husband's former wife, KREM 2's Kyle Simchuk is breaking down all the details of all of that verdict tonight.
The jury reached a verdict after deliberating for 6 hours. Tonight, reaction from the family and an author who wrote a book on the case. She says some questions may never be answered.
Answer, guilty.
No reaction from the East Idaho mom as the verdict was read, but outside the courthouse,
JJ, Papa misses you. I miss you.
JJ's grandpa, Larry Woodcock, brought to tears.
It started with 2 children missing. And I stood up and I said, where are the children? Where are the children?
It's a question people across the nation were asking, but one their own mother refused to answer.
Where are your kids? No comment. No comment? They've been missing for 4 months. You have nothing to say?
How can a mother do this to their children? How could she offer no explanation? And in this trial, she did not mount any defense. She called no witnesses.
Leah Satilli has researched the case for years and wrote the book When the Moon Turns to Blood. She says in the end, Lori did not see Tylee and JJ as her children.
Really referring to them not just as like zombies, as we had heard in the past, but obstacles, that they saw them as physical obstacles in the way of the life that they wanted to live.
Chad Daybell will have his own trial next spring, but today a sense of justice for Tylee, JJ, and Tammy Daybell, Chad's ex-wife, who Lori is now convicted of conspiring to kill. Satilli says Lori was an all-American mom, a cheerleader, beauty queen, and somebody who taught Sunday school, not your typical murderer.
Chad and Lori really advance the conversation around extremism that we're having in America. It's something that we often think about people, in camouflage or carrying AR-15s, kind of wearing this costume of extremism that we've all come to embrace. But with this case, I think it proves that religious extremism is mainstreaming, that political extremism is mainstreaming, and that these were people that were being very outwardly extreme for years to other people and were not being recognized.
Many are wondering if Chad Daybell's defense team will blame Lori for the murders when he goes on trial next spring.
He's the one that had bodies buried in his backyard. So I think I've heard a lot of people saying it was all Lori Vaile, but when you look at it, Chad Daybell in so many ways was the architect of so many of these ideas and conspiracies.
Vaile is expected to be sentenced 3 months from now. To be clear, the death penalty is no longer on the table because of a judge's order for late discovery submissions that happened before the trial. Cody?
Kyle, thank you so much. And we'll continue to follow the story through its end. But in the meantime, for more on the Lori Vaile trial, you can watch it right now on KREM 2 Plus, including the full verdict as it was read. You can download KREM 2 Plus now for Roku and Amazon Fire. You can also head over to our website, krem.com, for the most up-to-date information. Tomorrow, the University of Idaho honors 5 students who died during this school year. 2 of those students will be awarded their degrees during the university's graduation ceremony. Posthumous degrees will be given to Kaylee Gonzalez and Madison Mogan. Both were seniors when they were killed. The 2 younger victims, Ethan Chapin and Xana Kernodle, will be awarded certificates. Guadalupe Ruiz will also be honored with a degree after she died in a car crash back in August. I'll be covering that ceremony right here on KREM 2 News. Meanwhile, the man accused of murdering those 4 students filed a new motion to postpone an upcoming hearing, a May 22nd hearing scheduled to talk about a gag order put in place by the judge. A suspect, Brian Koberger, and his attorneys say they need more time to prepare for that hearing because the defense plans on bringing in expert testimony. Switching gears now, the temps dropped earlier this week, but let's just say the summer heat's moving back in. Meteorologist Michelle Boss in the Weather Center tonight with a look at your weekend forecast.
Yeah, we are once again looking at temperatures that are going to be 10, 15, sometimes 20 degrees above average. And it's not just for a couple of days. The heat's going to be moving in and settling in for at least a week. One thing we're going to have along with that warm weather, lots of clear skies as we take a look at satellite and radar. Clear skies out there right now and expecting plenty of sunshine for the weekend as well. Temperature wise, well, it's still very comfortable out there at the 10 o'clock hour. 68 degrees in Spokane, has cooled off into the 50s in Deer Park, Sandpoint, and Coeur d'Alene. 60s elsewhere across central Washington, and a mild 66 degrees right now in Lewiston. Short-term forecast, very quiet, clear skies overnight. Sunshine bright and early to start the day. Temperatures starting off in the low 50s and then quickly warming up into the 80s for Saturday and Sunday. One thing to note, it'll be a little bit on the breezy side both Saturday and Sunday, with wind gusts up to around 25 to 30 miles per hour by Sunday.
Going right now to Night Beat for a quick look at the day's top stories. Spokane police looking for help tonight in recovering several items still missing after a burglary spree. One place the suspect, identified as 57-year-old Patrick Brown, hit was Gonzaga University's Myrtle Woolson Performing Arts Center. Police say he stole several items, many of them silver. Coming up in about 10 minutes, how victims of the burglary spree are feeling tonight.
I am asking for your support and to join me as I announce our campaign to be the next governor of the state of Washington.
Another Republicans enter the race for Washington governor. Dr. Raul Garcia is seen as a moderate Republican. The Yakima doctor also ran for governor back in 2020. He now joins Semi Bird, a Richland school board member who announced back in November that he plans to run. On the Democratic side, State Lands Commissioner Hillary Franz also announced a run. Meanwhile, Democratic State Attorney General Bob Ferguson has launched an exploratory campaign indicating that he is most likely getting ready to run as well. And the Washington State Patrol is warning about scam calls that look like they're from them. Officials say a handful of WSP-associated phone numbers are being spoofed in order to get unsuspecting victims to share their personal information. A scammers call and claim to be an officer, trooper, or detective with the State Patrol. WSP says they would never call and seek personal or financial information. And that was your Night Beat. To learn more about any of these stories, just text the word NIGHT to 509-448-2000. We'll send them right to your phone. We are less than 3 weeks away until Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen says the nation will run out of money in order to pay its bills. Congressional leaders were supposed to discuss the debt ceiling with President Joe Biden at the White House today, but that meeting has been postponed until next week. There have been discussions before, and they'll continue over the weekend behind closed doors. Right now, no definitive date's been set for the next meeting between the president and congressional leaders. The end of the COVID-era immigration policy, known as Title 42, did not result in a substantial increase in migrant encounters overnight. That's according to U.S. Homeland Security officials, but they acknowledge Border Patrol officials are dealing with historically high levels of migration along the U.S. border with Mexico. The Mexican government estimates there are more than 26,000 migrants waiting to enter the U.S. Under the Biden administration policy that's now in effect, migrants cannot gain asylum without first applying for it in another country. Those caught crossing illegally face a 5-year ban and possible criminal charges, potentially dealing a blow to those new policies. Mexico announced it won't admit more than 1,000 migrants a day from those expelled by the United States. In the meantime, last week, a federal judge ruled that Immigration and Customs Enforcement can resume deportation flights out of Boeing Field in Seattle, something the county blocked back in 2020. There have been 3 deportation flights out of the airport this month. It's not clear how many people were on board. According to a spokesperson from Immigration and Customs Enforcement, more than 500 people are currently detained at the ICE processing center in Tacoma. And that was your KREM News 10 at 10.